But anyway, as I was saying before the break, they're gonna be saying goodbye to the Dukes of Hazzard General Lee. Now, in the wake of the deadly South Carolina shooting and the decision by several major retailers to stop selling merchandise featuring the Confederate Battle Flag, the toy spawned by the hit TV series Dukes of Hazzard that became a Southern icon wearing those colors will no longer be produced. While the car hasn't been in front of a camera since 2007, a direct-to-video sequel of the 2005 movie starring Johnny Knoxville, the General Lee remains a popular die-cast and model toy widely available online. Now, one of the original cars used in the series sold for $110,000 at auction in 2012 to PGA golfer Bubba Watson. Bubba. Now, before people say, well, see, yeah, I said Bubba. You know, there are black men named Bubba. Not just white men. There are black men named Bubba. Now, following the move by Walmart, Amazon, eBay, and others, the steps by political leaders in South Carolina, Virginia, and elsewhere to remove the flag from state capitals and license plates, Yahoo Autos reached out to Warner Brothers Consumer Products, the branch of the movie studio that licenses toys for the series, asking about the General Lee status. This is the official reply. Warner Brothers Consumer Products has one licensee producing die-cast replicas and vehicle model kits featuring the General Lee with the Confederate flag on its roof, as it was seen in the TV series. We have elected to cease the licensing of these product categories. Now, at the time the Dukes of Hazzard premiered in 1979 on CBS TV, the placement of the Confederate flag and the naming of the '69 Dodge Charger driven by Bo and Luke Duke after the South's most famous general drew few, if any, protest. Of course they didn't. It was just a stupid, campy, fun TV show. Now, after the South's a state that persisted through the end of its original run in '85, the show was based in part on real-life exploits of bootlegger Jerry Rushing, who named his old Chrysler Traveler with one L after Lee's horse. Now, only in recent years has General Lee's Confederate flag and its associations with the defense of slavery and white supremacy in America has drawn more backlash. Now, in 2012, Warner Brothers shot down rumors that it was removing the flag from the car, but fan clubs where replicas gather remain adamant in the display of the original, and I don't blame them. It was. If you've never seen the Dukes of Hazzard, you really got to try to. It's got to be. You got to be able to play. I don't know. Maybe you won't be able to get it anymore because it has Confederate flags in it. And that's just silly. I watched the Dukes of Hazzard. It was just a silly, campy. It came on Friday. Was it Friday nights or Saturday nights? It came on Friday nights. It was just a silly, campy, good, wholesome television show. I mean, it was. I'm at a loss here. I can't believe that we have gone so. This is one of those things about political correctness that really gets my goat. Is that things that are innocuous and innocent and harmless get trampled on. Simply because somebody on the left who wants to be ultra PC has decided that a symbol of something, should not be allowed to stand. That nobody, no matter who they are, should be able to utilize it, have it, keep it, hold it, treasure it, what have you. But what they don't tell you is that a lot of this, look, you can look at the 1950s and 60s. This types of things. So that's a bad dream to have. Simply because you believe it's, what white people wanted? That doesn't make any sense. So it's better for blacks to what? Stay in the ghetto, government housing in the projects because, that's better? They shouldn't strive to live in a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house with a 2-car, car attached garage. Because that's a white supremacist ideal of life? I don't get it. Seems to me that the racism is on the reverse. You're trying to tell us that, well, no, blacks should stay where they are. They shouldn't strive for a white type of middle class living. Well, just because white people live that way doesn't mean that everybody, wants to try to be white. They just like the way people who live that way. They want to be middle class. They want to be upper class. Is there anything wrong with that? No, that's white supremacist, really. This political correctness nonsense is going to end up not only dividing the country, but causing and forcing a lot of people to stay in their economic class. So by fiat, there's going to be less upward mobility, if you will, of different ethnic groups, because hey, after all, upward mobility is nothing but a white supremacist ideal, right? Making more money, that's a white supremacist ideal. Raising a family with a mom and a dad, that's a white supremacist ideal. Living in the middle class neighborhood and sending your kid to a good school or a private school, well, no, that's a white supremacist ideal. Living in a safe neighborhood, not having to worry about your kid getting shot by a drive-by, that's a white supremacist ideal, according to the left. It's ludicrous, folks. It's absolutely ludicrous. And I'm not talking about the rapper, the rap artist, Luda. Not him. Ludicrous is absolutely stupid. Now I'm sure that somebody's going to say, well, that's a white supremacist word, Rod. Well, then tell that to Luda. I'm sure he would disagree, but then if he disagreed, he'd be one of those tomfooleries who has, was it Munchausen syndrome or whatever? Stockholm syndrome. Because, he makes all this money and... Which, by the way, not a lot of white people are involved in their records. But, hey, that's what... I'm guessing Motown is probably... The original Motown is probably going to be seen as some sort of white supremacist ideal. You can't get away from this kind of insane type of political correctness from these people. They just won't let you. And they won't stop. You think they're going to stop at the General Lee? At the car. This reminds me of a time. And obviously not a time that I experienced firsthand, because it was a very long time ago. But it reminds me of a time back in the day in a place called ancient Egypt, where when a pharaoh came into power, and if he didn't like the previous pharaoh, what were they known to do? They were known to have tried to erase the memory, the history of the previous pharaoh that they did not like. Defacing all their monuments with their faces on it, removing or painting over all their, their pictographs and their stories that were telling of their battles and their achievements and whatnot. The removal of the papyrus that had all their doings and their birth records and that kind of stuff. Just trying to erase the memory from history of the previous pharaoh that the current pharaoh did not like. Funny thing is that you can't fully erase history. Not even back then. Now, you can, really forget about it today with the internet, but even back then, they could not fully erase somebody from history. How do we know? We know that they have attempted to fully wipe people from history, but we happen to know who those people are in most cases. Because there was history that remained on them somewhere. So even back in ancient Egypt, they could not get away and totally eradicate history. And yet we have people today, in this day and age, that think that they can actually do that. They can just go ahead and eradicate the history that they don't like. You know what? We don't like the old South and all it stood for and the Confederacy and all that. We're just going to wipe that off the map. No more Confederate flag anywhere. Nobody forget the fact that Bill and Hillary fully endorsed and embraced the Confederate battle flag numerous times, both while Bill was governor and as president of these United States. But now you have Hillary running out there talking about, well, everybody, we need to remove this flag from everywhere. And you know what? She basically wrapped herself up in it. But that's okay. Because now she says to get rid of it. She's become enlightened. She's grown. She knows better now. Really? What a bunch of bunk. What a bunch of phony baloney, good time, banana hacking, idiotic, liberal. I'm not going to say that because it'll get me in trouble with the FCC. Look, this is just, I can't, no, it's not. It's not time to panic yet, folks, but it's only time to panic over the pink flamingos. It's not time to panic over this nonsense with PC correctness and the Confederate. This will blow over. They'll end up trying other things and going after the U.S. flag for one, and they'll go after other symbols of capitalism and freedom and claim that it's about racism and slavery and everything. But hey, one thing you have to understand about racism and slavery is that there were blacks in Africa that started the trade. They sold other black Africans into slavery. You don't hear much about that. All you hear about is the white people. That, white people hate blacks. Really? Well, they did business with them. That's how they got their slaves. So I don't... well, it is what it is. Supreme Court upholds another law. They uphold broad housing discrimination claims. Yes. A divided U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday, and this is from Reuters. A divided U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday embraced a broad interpretation of discrimination claims allowed under the landmark Fair Housing Act, a blow to lenders and insurers that face such lawsuits, and had urged the court to curb them in a 5-4 decision in a major civil rights case out of Texas. The court preserved a legal tool that has been used for decades to bring bias lawsuits over actions that have a discriminatory effect, even with no evidence of discriminatory intent. Oh, so now it doesn't even matter what the intent is. But the other law there was all about intent, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. The Obamacare law, it's all about intent. But now it doesn't matter what the intent is. It's all about fitting what they want to fit, folks. Really, that's what it's all about.